The International Solidarity and Human Rights Mission traveled from Argentina to Peru in order to observe and register human rights violations and complaints in the country amid ongoing repression at the hands of police and military forces. United States President Joe Biden delivered the State of the Union address before the nation's Congress. And the government of Türkiye continues the search and rescue operations after a 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit the country and declares the 3-month state of emergency at the death as toll keeps rising. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. And as always, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. And now we begin with the news. On Tuesday, Peru hit the 2-month mark since the impeachment of former President Pedro Castillo, which has led to massive protests and more than 60 deaths due to police repression as the political crisis worsens. When, on December the 7th, former President Pedro Castillo was ousted and Dina Boluarte took office as the head of state, she said she will remain in office until 2026, something that helped ignite the streets in various parts of the country. The massive marches against the government in various parts of the country do not seem to have been enough for the executive and the legislative to agree to approve an early election, announce resignations, show any self-criticism, or make an effort to dialogue with the demonstrators to calm the situation. Rather, the government has tightly clung to its position disregarding the people's request as the social and political crisis becomes even deeper. And meanwhile, the protests against the government of Dina Boluarte continue as the region of Ayacucho continues its indefinite strike with the participation of several social sectors. In the past days, 22 people were preventively arrested and another 27 were sentenced for alleged acts of vandalism. Social movements affirm that the rulings confirm the worsening of judicial persecution against popular protests in the country. On Tuesday, the International Solidarity and Human Rights Mission traveled from Argentina to Peru in order to observe and register human rights violations complaints in the country amid the ongoing repression at the hands of police and the military forces. The International Human Rights Mission announced its departure in the context of the ongoing repression of social protests in Peru that began after the ousting of the former President Pedro Castillo on December the 7th and has so far killed dozens of civilians. The delegation is composed of Argentine social leader Juan Grebois, national deputies, and several social movement leaders and activists with experience in international affairs. The mission, which intends to show Latin American support to the struggle of the Peruvian people, has been summoned by different Peruvian human rights, social and peasant organizations to record on the site the different acts of harassment the demonstrations are facing. And after the press conference that launched the international mission, Gonzalo Armua, one of the delegation members, talked to TeleSUR about the importance of this mission in the context of the brutal repression unleashed in the Indian country.
This mission is to make visible the violation of human rights that the Peruvian state is carrying out against these demonstrations and to submit a report to different human rights organizations and international bodies in order to at least try to mitigate the repression that is being unleashed. This mission is made up of different social organizations, human rights organizations and trade unions from Argentina who have shown their solidarity and have responded in this way to the call of different Peruvian movements, human rights organizations and Peruvian lawyers who ask us to travel to the territory. That is why this mission is leaving today, Tuesday, February 7th, for Peru. The idea is to arrive in Lima and then be able to travel to the different affected areas and be able to meet with relatives and victims of the repression. In this way, we are putting our grain of sand, a sample of this solidarity, of this brotherhood of the Latin American great homeland, as we have already done in 2019 in Bolivia after the COP, in 2021 in Colombia against the national strike, and in Ecuador in 2022 also, against the mobilization and the subsequent repression of the Lasso government. This is the 4th edition, and we hope to contribute to Latin American unity, but above all to show solidarity with the broader people of Peru.
And the new mission of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, is in Argentina to review the country's compliance with the goals to December 2022 of the program signed with the multilateral organization. Sources from the Ministry of Economy confirmed on Tuesday that the 4th review of the Extended Facilities Agreement targets will allow a new disbursement of $5.4 million for Argentina by the organization. Secretary of the Economic Programming, Gabriel Rubinstein, and the Ministry of Economy's Chief of Advisors, Leonardo Madcour, are the Argentine officials who have been leading the meetings with the IMF representatives since last Sunday, while the delegation is expected to remain in the South American country until next Monday. The review is part of the agreement that both sides sealed at the end of March 2022 to refinance a loan of more than $45 billion granted in 2018 during the government of the former president Mauricio Macri. In Uruguay, a teachers' union of the Central Board of Directors has denounced espionage against the teachers and students. The incident occurred when President Luis Lacalle Pou, the former security chief Alejandro Artesiano, agreed to track their phones. The National Federation of Junior High School Teachers issued a statement expressing their concern about what happened and demanded measures be taken in this regard. They claimed that anti-democratic practices are carried out in Montevideo in order to prosecute those who are considered the enemies. Alejandro Artesiano, the former security chief of President Luis Lacalle Pou, has been detained since last September, accused of more than 20 crimes, including falsifying documents such as passports. And Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro Moros met on Tuesday with the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, at the Miraflores Palace in Caracas. The bilateral meeting was part of the efforts to consolidate the integration of Latin American and the Caribbean as a way to achieve mutual development, the guarantee of life, and the well-being of the member countries. The meeting served to promote the agenda for the implementation and development of the agreements through the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our Americas, ALBA TCP. Venezuela and St. Vincent and the Grenadines maintain a solid strategic partnership in the areas of energy, trade, tourism, and security, as well as common position in defense of a balanced and democratic regional integration under the principles of mutual respect and self-determination. Let's take a short break now, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. United States President Joe Biden delivered on Tuesday the State of the Union address before the nation's Congress. In an over 3-hour speech, mostly devoted to domestic issues, the U.S. president began by listing a number of what he considered achievements of his administration during the last 2 years and the work ahead. He announced a new standard that will require that all construction material used in federal infrastructure projects be made in the United States. Biden also criticized the fiscal management of former President Donald Trump's administration and called for bipartisan work in Congress to move ahead. The head of the state referred to the need for gun control and his policies on immigration. In relation to the international arena, the president made a brief reference to the conflict in Ukraine and the relations with China. In his speech, the President Joe Biden stated that there are new job opportunities for Americans and this will contribute to the country's economy.
I stand here tonight after we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs. More jobs created in 2 years than any president's created in 4 years because of you all, because of the American people.
Similarly, he reminded the importance of the country's infrastructure and its role in the economy.
To maintain the strongest economy in the world, we need the best infrastructure in the world. And folks, as you all know, we used to be #1 in the world in infrastructure. We've sunk to 13th in the world. The United States of America, 13th in the world in infrastructure, modern infrastructure. But now we're coming back because we came together and passed the bipartisan infrastructure law, the largest investment in infrastructure since President Eisenhower's interstate highway system.
Additionally, he highlighted the significance of including every American in the Medicare program.
Look, there are millions of other Americans who do not or are not on Medicare, including 200,000 young people with type 1 diabetes who need this insulin to stay alive. Let's finish the job this time. Let's cap the cost of insulin for everybody at $35.
Further, he stressed the violence that had to occur in the country and the need to stop that violence.
Join us tonight are the parents of Tyree Nichols. Welcome. We had to bury Tyree last week. As many of you personally know, there's no words to describe the heartache or grief of losing a child. But imagine if you lost that child at the hands of the law. Imagine having to worry whether your son or daughter came home from walking down the street, or playing in the park, or just driving a car. Most of us in here have never had to have the talk that brown and black parents have had to have with their children.
During President Joe Biden's State of the Union speech, he stated that teachers at public schools deserve a raise, adding they play a key role in children's education.
Providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. Studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish high school and go on to earn a 2 or 4 year degree, no matter their background they came from. Let's give public school teachers a raise.
United States President Joe Biden also said that border problems in the country will not be fixed by the Congress acts.
We've launched a new border plan last month. Unlawful migration from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela has come down 97% as a consequence of that. But American border problems won't be fixed until Congress acts. If we don't pass my comprehensive immigration reform, at least pass my plan to provide the equipment and officers to secure the border.
Meanwhile, President Joe Biden highlighted that his administration is building an economy where no one is left behind.
We're building an economy where no one's left behind. Jobs are coming back. Pride is coming back because choices we made in the last several years. You know, this is, in my view, a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America and make a real difference in your lives at home.
And we have more news coming up after a final short break. But first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The government of Türkiye continues its search efforts for victims after the 7.8 magnitude earthquake that hit the country. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan declared a 3-month state of emergency in 10 Turkish provinces affected by the quake. Erdogan said 70 countries had offered help in search and rescue operations, and that Turkey planned to open hotels in the western resort of Antalya to temporarily house people who had been affected. According to the latest report from the country's Disaster and Emergency Management Authority, the number of deaths increased to 7,108. In Turkey also, low temperatures and already close to 200 aftershocks are hampering attempts to find more survivors among the unstable structures. According to the Turkish State Meteorological Service, temperatures will drop to -3 degrees Celsius, and snow and rain are expected for most of the week. Since the quake, which struck near the southern Turkish town of Gaziantep on Monday, happened at night, people trapped were wearing pajamas and little warm clothing. Many of those rescued had no shoes on. This worries the authorities, who together with volunteers are working under extreme conditions in order to save as many lives as possible. And rescuers from the Algerian Civil Protection arrived in Aleppo, Syria, to assist in search and rescue operations following a massive earthquake and aftershocks which killed more than 5,000 in Turkey and Syria. One team, comprised of 89 specialist urban rescue operatives, was joined by another made up of 86 people. The two groups include specialists in search and rescue on the rubble, trained canine search teams, and disaster medicine team and other specialties. In this sense, Lieutenant Youssef Abdat, a media officer at the General Directorate of Civil Protection traveling with the teams, reaffirmed that all members of the team were ready to take on the task assigned to them by the Algerian authorities. And the government of Venezuela sends human resources and equipment for rescue operation in Turkey and Syria. From the international airport of Maiquetía in the state of La Guaira, 50 Venezuelan brigades of civil protection, firefighters, and the Simón Bolívar Humanitarian Task Force left for Turkey and Syria to participate in the rescue tasks in the affected areas. Furthermore, the delegations will travel accompanied by the shipment of medicines and food as humanitarian support. The Venezuelan Foreign Ministry pointed out that the action as a manifestation of solidarity and asked the international community to raise its voice so that the sanctions are lifted, so that they can receive the resources they need. And now we move on to other topics. The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, on Wednesday will start an official visit to the United Kingdom, his first trip to London since the beginning of the Russian military special operation. Zelensky has announced that British training of Ukrainian forces will be extended to cover fighter pilots and Marines. On this occasion, the Ukrainian leader will meet with the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, giving a speech to the Parliament with no further details available at this time. He said that Sunak will offer to provide Ukraine with longer-range capabilities to disrupt Russia's ability to attack Ukraine's critical national infrastructure. He also said that British training will be expanded this year with another 20,000 Ukrainian soldiers ready for training. And the Russian Foreign Affairs Minister Sergei Lavrov arrived on Tuesday in Mali from Iraq as part of a tour that also includes Mauritania and Sudan. In his meetings with Malian top officials, Lavrov will discuss prospective Russian exports of grain, fertilizers and oil products, the expansion of bilateral economic trade and investment cooperation, as well as strengthening the interaction in promising fields like mineral resources exploitation, geological prospecting, energy infrastructure and agriculture. Other issues to be discussed include cooperation between the armed forces and other law enforcement agencies of the two countries, including the training of Malian military personnel in schools of Russia's Ministry of Defense and Ministry of the Interior. Current international and regional issues will also be discussed, with emphasis on the repercussions of the conflict in Ukraine and the fight against terrorism in the Sahel and West Africa. China said on Tuesday that it is determined to defend its rights and interests in the face of Washington's refusal to return the wreckage of a scientific balloon shot down after it has entered U.S. airspace driven by winds. The Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, Mao Min, argued that the balloon belongs to China and not to the United States, in response to Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby's comments that Washington will retain the device. She insisted on the need to handle the matter in a calm, professional manner and without military implications, and reiterated that it was a force majeure event and that the device was civilian. The entry of the balloon into the U.S. sky created a new focus on bilateral tensions because the White House shut it down on Saturday, considering that it was carrying out espionage activities, and also canceled the visit to China of the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.